All right, welcome everyone to the OpenDev Battleship Polkadot Core Dev call, the OpenDev call, the monthly call where we have the core developers of Polkadot here with us in the room. And we are talking about all the good stuff, all the low-level deep stuff, all the concepts, all the developments, everything that's going on from hub to cloud. Sometimes we talk about Jam, but not today because Gavin is not here with us today. But we have a lot of other developers here. And with a lot of other developers, I mean we have a summer edition because we have a few. Yeah, so let's see how we're going to turn out today. And as always, we start by going by rank. So highest ranks first, and we will learn what you have in store for us. And we are starting today with Kian, rank 5 in the fellowship, with a salary of $13,333 per month. Hey, Kian.
Hi.
Hey. It was good to see you last month in Berlin at the physical meetup.
Your clip was very funny at the end. This like entrance that you guys had was pretty epic. Yeah. So what has been up since we met last time? I guess two major things. On asset hub migration, part of the Hub project, Polkadot Hub product, Polkadot Hub that's coming out. In the last few weeks, I've spent a bit more time on looking into what's happening on the testing side there, as in what means we have to test it and dry run it multiple times. And I've gotten myself familiar with it and also worked a bit into making the testing infrastructure accessible to others. And what my part of my goal with that is that, so our next step is Paseo, and that's still a test network, so it's okay. But by the time we reach Kusama, I think all other fellowship members, especially the ones that are not in parity, so they don't talk to us day to day, I think we all have like a shared responsibility to test these things and dry run it from our side and make sure it happens. So yeah, I've been putting the steps necessary for that into place. That's hopefully after we are done with the migration on Paseo, from a few weeks, a month before we go to Polkadot, we can already ask other fellowship members to help us with the testing, or at least give us the approval that this thing works. So that's like one update. And the other thing, I've been briefly in touch with Blockdeep about RFC 97 implementation as well. I think their time contract is coming to an end. Both me and Ankan, other fellow member who's not here today, we have reviewed their work high level, not in great level of detail yet, but our perception is that they have done a bulk of the work. And as said before, and I'm just kind of reassuring my previous statement about it, our plan would be to deliver this as soon as the migration is complete. So in the next release in Polkadot afterwards, which should be toward the end of the year. So that's still on track. And
can you give us a refresher? What is RFC 19?
Oh yeah, flexible unbonding. So in that, the onboarding to be dynamic based on the amount that's being onboarded.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. Minimum of which would be 2 days, maximum would be 28 days as it is right now.
And since we last talked, there was this announcement coming out that we have definitive launch dates now for the Kusama and Polkadot migration. Is it true? So from what I understand is Kusama migration is happening on 7th October and Polkadot migration is happening on 4th November.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right. Okay. So everything on track seems good, and you're working on the tooling and getting ready for the tooling. And what is your go or no-go condition to actually do the run on Paseo?
So for Paseo, we want to have the migration itself dry run multiple times, both manually and in our CI system. And then we have 3 sets of tests that kind of overlap with one another, but they also touch different corner cases. I think the most popular one that anyone who might see this or other people here might be familiar with is the PETs. I think Brian Chen, also another fellowship member, originally created them, Polkadot ecosystem tests. So this is like one of the 3 test suites that we have. And for Paseo, for now, our assumption is that, or our go signal is that as long as all 3 pass, but kind of manually by one owner. So it doesn't need to repeatedly pass for 1 week in CI or something. I wouldn't say set in stone yet, but I would say definitively we would, or certainly we would have a higher bar for Kusama. So for Kusama, our goal is to have all of these test suites, passing a week before the migration multiple times in CI. So, we can just last week before Kusama migration, just sit and watch basically that all the tests are repeatedly passing and it's good. But for Paseo, of course, we might, be a bit more relaxed.
Mm-hmm. And are you taking a fork of the live state and then performing the migration on the fork?
Yeah, actually, maybe I should leave this in the comments and then the repository in which this stuff is. For anyone curious, there is a README with some instructions and so on if you would like to know how it works. This is the repository where we do all the testing.
Mm-hmm. All right. Sounds good. Perfect. Thank you. All right. Does anyone have a question for Kian? Good. That is not the case. Then next up is Oliver, rank 3 in the fellowship with a salary of $6,666. Hey, Oliver.
Yeah. Hey.
Hey.
Sorry, I think I pressed the wrong button. Yeah, good. Thanks. So I'm mostly working on Paseo right now. And yeah, so that's also asset hub migration. And as Kian said, the first step we want to have is for Paseo. And I mean, I hope I can finalize the runtimes today, hopefully. So that we can then continue with this testing. I ran it a few times with our forked networking, it's called Zombie Byte, because it normally it was called Zombie Net, but now it's modified so Zombie Byte because it bites off the state. I mean, I didn't make the name, but that's how it's currently called. Yeah, so it kind of downloads all of the state from Paseo, and then it runs the migration, and then it does some post checks. And yeah, then we can take a snapshot of before the migration and after the migration and run some other tests on it to see that kind of the difference between them is everything that we expect. Yeah, that should give us a reasonable high confidence that it will work for Paseo. Yeah, on the other hand, Paseo is not incentivized, so there's pseudo, there's the token is free basically. So if it goes wrong there, then it's not as bad as on Kusama, but we still don't want to do it like West End where we just were pretty YOLO about it. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I mean, I hope we can finish the runtimes today, and then we can maybe we can do the migration tomorrow, whatever, or still this week. I'm out of office next week, so it would be good to do it soon. Yeah. Otherwise, at the same time, we are preparing Kusama and Polkadot for asset hub migration. Yeah, there are just some more pallets missing and some configuration stuff, but the deadlines are pretty tight. So yeah, we try to get it all merged soon. Yeah. Otherwise, like in my free time, I'm still working on a gem node with some of my colleagues, also Kian included. Yeah, and there we are like at 0.67 now. This is like the current version of the grey paper where most teams are at, and like there are being tests published for it. So yeah, after we finish everything with 0.67, we can then proceed to 0.71. And then yeah, we should be also up to date on that front. Yep.
All right, thank you. So from what I'm hearing is that you hope to do the Paseo upgrade this week?
Yeah, I mean, it would be my hope. I mean, I'm not sure if it's realistic, but we kind of said that Monday, Tuesday, or I guess latest tomorrow. So we don't want to do it like close to end of the week, but also pushing it back doesn't help us much. I think we got kind of like some baseline confidence that it should be fine. So yeah, I hope we can do it this week, but yeah.
And is there any chance that there will be some, or is there any known artifacts that will be there afterwards? So what I'm thinking about is when the recent staking migration happened, there was like some accounts that were in a state where they had a more complicated time getting out of it. But they had to unstake in a certain order just to be able to migrate into the new state. Is there something like this?
Not sure if maybe Kian can tell about this, but I'm not sure if this exists.
Should everything go well, I mean, there should be no such case. I think what you're referring to is that there was a period of time where if you were both a member of nomination pools and directly nominating, you were forced to leave one. That's also removed right now, by the way, as in currently you can do both. It was a temporary mistake from our side to, lead us there. But yeah, no such thing should happen. But yeah, again, if there is anything, we will see it on Paseo again.
Okay. Good. All right. Thank you. Any questions for Oliver? No questions. Then let's move on. Next up is Adrian, rank 3 in the fellowship with a salary of $6,666.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Adrian.
For the last month, I think my main focus was also asset hub migration, but more on the fellowship repo and preparing the fellowship repo for all the changes and all the components required for the asset hub migration, upgrading all the dependencies of the repo to the latest, let's say, or the ones that, they're actually the latest SDK components. This had kind of a dual factor mission. One was asset hub migration, and the other was the smart contracts on asset hub, where we want to. There are some changes happening in the smart contracts, some enhancements on the versus the original deployment on the Kusama asset hub, the beta preview, let's say. And initially, this was supposed to be a smart contracts dedicated, let's say, work, but then because of the calendar and the way we had to plan things around the calendar, it became very much asset hub migration focused. And to speak a bit about the calendar, we have the Kusama asset hub migration set for 7th of October, and the Polkadot asset hub migration in, I think, November, 4th of November, if I'm not mistaken. And these dates are kind of hard dates because they require a lot of coordination with the whole world, basically, right? Not just the inner Polkadot ecosystem. And there are many considerations to take into account here, like, business decisions, calendars of work, the way budgeting works, the way legal stuff works, compliance stuff works. So a lot of things have to be, let's say, put into place and make sure everybody is aligned to be ready at a certain date. So once we have aligned most of the partners for this date, we're stuck with it now, right? So we have to make it happen. We wanted to do one other thing, which is the upgrade that will bring in the asset hub migration changes to be minimal, as in we want that upgrade to not introduce any other functionality or potential noise or potential breakage point. So we want it to be as minimal as possible, meaning just the very core things that are asset hub migration on, right? In order to make that happen, we decided to have a two-step upgrade path. First, we want to do an upgrade where we bring in everything up to date, minus the actual asset hub migration palettes and asset hub migration configuration specific, configurations, values, or profiles, which leaves us with basically two upgrades that we need to do between today and 7th of October. One is the, let's say, latest upgrade, which we call, which will come as runtimes 170. And then we will have a asset hub migration upgrade where we bring in a very minimal, a very small set of changes that are asset hub specific, which will be runtimes 180. Yeah, the numbering, we'll see it. Like, I'm not married to this numbering, but yeah. Whether we bump the minor or we do a patch release, it's like a detail. But between now and 7th October, we need to release these two runtimes and we need to do these two upgrades, which gives us a very strict timeline. I have this posted on the Polkadot Technical Fellowship channel. I'll also repeat it here very fast. I finished the, yes, when Marshburg PRs, finished bringing in the latest SDKs. We first bumped all the dependencies to 2506, integrated all the new features and enhancements that came with that upgrade, and then did the same for 2507, which was a smaller one, but still we integrated any changes, enhancements, and new features that came with that. And now we're just doing final benchmarking for the latest weights for all of this changed runtime code, right? Some weights changed. And by the end of the week, we should release runtimes 170. Next week, start the referenda for the Kusama upgrade. And also in parallel, next week, the asset hub migration team will start bringing in all their asset hub migration code from the dev branch they're currently working in into main. So once we release this 170, we have this minimal, we have this, let's say, checkpoint in the runtime. We say we kind of freeze new features until at least we run the migration, and we only bring in the migration code, and that's the minimal diff that we can do for the 180 runtime. Yeah, it will take probably 1 or 2 weeks for 170 to enact and go live. It will take everybody else around 1 week or 2 weeks to bring in all of these changes. And then the timeline looks like August 25th, that's the initiate runtime upgrade Kusama 170. And probably by the end of the first week of September, so September 7th, this one enacts and we can also release 180. So on September 8th, we can initiate the referenda for Kusama RC, only the relay chain and only asset hub will upgrade, because that's the only asset hub migration specific code. And it should be live between 15th and 21st of December on relay chain Kusama and asset hub Kusama. So that gives us 1 full week for dry running using the actual live chain data and using the actual live chain runtime, right? So from now to then, we can do as many dry runs and as much testing as we want with local setups, ZombieNet, ZombieByte, all the stuff that we discussed. But once we get with this runtime, the actual asset hub runtime, asset migration runtime live, then we can do the dry running with like less things in flight, as in you just take the actual chain, duplicate it, even the chain's runtime, and you just run it as if I'm not playing, I'm just giving the command and no other input that might vary from the real live migration that will happen. So it gives us 1 week to do that. And then we can initiate the referenda for setting the asset migration block at 29th of September, giving the ref around 1 week window to pass. And 7th October, asset migration starts. That's the timeline. That's what I've been working on lately, just getting all of this in motion.
Wow, that's pretty tense.
I like all the heavy lifting is being done by this asset migration team, so mostly Kian, Oliver, Muharrem, and a bunch of guys that haven't joined this group yet. So yeah, shout out to them.
So let me see if I understood this. So 1.7 goes live and it lays the foundation for migrating state in a way.
Yes, in a way, it lays the foundation in the sense that it basically brings in all this new code that we need anyway, all the new dependencies, all the new features, all the stuff that the ecosystem is waiting for anyway. So like upgrades to the smart contracts platform, Snowbridge V2, a bunch of upgrades to XCM. Like we released XCM V5 last time, but a bunch of stuff wasn't enabled, so this enables them. So there's a number of things that were supposed to be delivered this year, and we don't want to deliver them in the same upgrade as the asset migration runtime upgrade, because that would just introduces too many potential breakage points or like something. So
you're also talking about the EVM smart contract, the Revm REVM.
Just palette revive stuff.
Okay. So, and then part one is the upgrade 1.7, and then does the data like slowly migrate over a few days, or is it like in a few hours?
There's no migration happening in 1.7.0. This is just a normal runtime upgrade where we bring in a lot of new features that we want this year, and we don't want to delay enabling them. It's just a normal migration because that brings in.
Okay, and so then 1.8 is the one where the data migration happens.
Exactly, and 1.8, the timeline works like this. It enacts, nothing happens. It just brings in the code for the migration, but the migration has this, it needs a referenda to start, right? It has an on-off switch, governed or like controllable by governance, or maybe the Polkadot fellowship, I'm not sure exactly, but more or less the same. So first, we have the code on-chain live. Then we start dry running with the data that's on-chain and the code that's on-chain. Like we simply clone the actual live chain, hit the button and watch it, and like, fingers crossed. Anything that goes wrong, we have some time to maybe fix it quickly. And then on end of September, the very end, 29, 30, something like that, we say, okay, we need to start a referenda to initiate the Kusama migration. You're muted.
And so the migration happens with 1.8, or like slightly before or slightly after?
It happens after the 1.8 upgrade. It happens using the 1.8 runtimes.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is that we can set a date, so we can like have a fixed date when we know it will happen. So the referendum would like set this date, and then everyone knows, okay, this is exact time when it will start. So it's not dependent on when the referendum will pass, but yeah, we can like set the date that we want.
Okay, good. Does anyone have a question for Adrian?
I have a comment since we discussed this in detail now, and I think Adrian's timeline was very precise. And for anyone like listening, and an extra detail is that luckily all of this migration code is such that we can add them to the runtime, but they are dormant and they don't do anything. So maybe this two-phase aspect of it, I'm going to emphasize it more. So there's like a bunch of palettes that do the migration. There's also additional palettes that will be added to Asset Hub in advance, but they are blocked from being interacted. So Asset Hub will have a staking palette and a referenda palette and a few other extra palettes before even the migration has happened, but they are, there's a filter in front of them. And same with the migration code. So, and then at some point, a second referenda will tell this migration palette, hey, please start at this block number.
So in a way, 1.8 is close to a feature toggle, where you basically just unlock the features, and then they can get enacted. Okay, interesting.
So like press the start button immediately. That comes later.
The floodgate. All right, good. I don't see any questions. Okay, then thank you, Adrian.
Yeah, one more comment as well. So, yeah, so bringing in these like migration changes, I mean, it's like a pretty big merge request because we have like these migrator palettes and everything. I think like last time I checked, it was like 40,000 lines, and we kind of need to get it merged before we can publish the Kusama runtimes. So it, yeah, it will be a bit tough. I mean, I can try to kind of pull out some changes to get them reviewed, but this is one bottleneck that I at least see that, yeah, like we have kind of been developing for a few months, but like all in our own branch, and now we kind of want to get it back into the main branch. And yeah, that could be difficult.
All right, I see one more. So I see on the timeline that was announced, there is for the smart contract, there's going to be the EVM preview and then the EVM version of the thing. Can someone talk to that? No. Okay, then we will ask it next time.
Yeah, and the other thing that's coming out with this upgrade, which I mentioned earlier, is Snowbridge V2. It was in development for a while, and now this will actually bring it. And then it needs another referenda to upgrade through our OpenGov, through the bridge, upgrade the Ethereum contracts on the other side to their V2 counterparts. And these two will run in parallel anyway, so the bridge will support both V1 and V2. And yeah, V2 will bring in some nice stuff. I don't think they will be immediately visible, but given a few months for the UIs to integrate them, should bring in some very nice UX improvements.
Yeah, I think the nicest thing about Snowbridge V2 is the lanes where one parachain can have an endpoint on a smart contract, and you can like set up a shop on Ethereum.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Thank you, Adrian. Then next up is Andre, rank 3 in the fellowship with a salary of $6,666.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Andre. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I've been working on two things. One is the elastic scaling, and the other one is block confidence. So you're curious about elastic scaling. Last time, I think in May, like I'm picking it from where I left it. So we had this like headwinds. When we first wanted to enable RFC 103, we got that finality stall. And I think I presented the plan on how to enable it. So since then, I've been mostly doing that, coordinating that work, doing reviews, pushing fixes into production. Yeah, this was some fast, high-quality work done by my amazing team at Parity. So something very important to note about the changes we've done here. One is that with this 161 runtime upgrade, we've enabled on-chain disabling for validators that dispute valid blocks. So if they do it, they get disabled for the whole era and not get any rewards anymore. So that was what happened. But now, today, I have good news. We successfully enabled RFC 103 on Kusama, like recently, I think one week ago. And it just runs smoothly up until now. So I think it's very good. And I'll likely want to submit the referendum for Polkadot today or tomorrow. But I don't know yet. I have to coordinate because there's another runtime upgrade, the referendum as well. We can bundle that, call it the 1.7.0 upgrade. But once it's enacted, it means that the elastic scaling feature is live on the relay chain on Polkadot, basically marking an important milestone. Now, yeah, using it requires you to get cores, which are harder to get. So you need to get them. You also need to upgrade your parachain node and runtime to 25.06 stable, and use the new collator that's like been stabilized, the slot-based collator. And this will become actually the default option, as far as I know, with the stable from December 2512 stable. It also represents, and it's important to note here, an area where we continue to invest significantly to improve parachain block production and performance. But currently, there are a few known issues that have not been really solved, but it's nothing significant or blocker. I will mention them with the documentation update that I'm going to make quite soon. And I also going to remove the Rust feature gate for RFC 103 in the runtime, for the parachain runtime, because like this is like a safeguard, extra safeguard. We can only do it after Polkadot has RFC 103 enabled. What else? I've been working with Peak. I thought one of their engineers improved the maximum TPS on their private testnet, so they have this like 12-core elastic scaling performance test. Like this was nothing fancy. Like it didn't have the storage weight reclaim extension enabled, authorship duration bump, max POV size, optimized storage read write weights, the ones that we compute in a validation context, which are actually better and closer to reality. Increasing normal dispatch, stuff like that. So this is basically like something that you would want to do if you want to optimize the TPS of your parachain. And I think this pretty much covers what I wanted to say about elastic scaling. You can ask me questions at the end if you want to know more. Now about block confidence, I've been working on a strategy to like what we need to do to increase block confidence. And like what is block confidence? Simply put, is like number of block produced versus number of block finalized. In ideal world, each block you produce, it's also finalized. It's super important because it drives the transaction in block confidence. So if blocks have to be rebuilt often, then there's like big currency you cannot use in block. So kind of start to rely on finality, which is most apps do that, right? So it's not nice, especially if you have like 500 millisecond blocks and you cannot actually leverage it. So if you increase block confidence, you don't need to wait for finality anymore. It's like very good numbers. We can make apps to be low latency, especially like with a 500 millisecond block, that would be like a very smooth, like instant experience and push things, right? So mainly, like block confidence is currently affected when but the parachain has to rebuild blocks for various reasons. So how we are going to figure out why and how to solve it? We've been collecting data to identify the top failure modes that decrease block confidence and also increase block time as an effect. So like in parachain consensus, for example, in signal distribution or collator protocol, on the collator side, I have like connectivity trouble. We've seen that. And also relay chain issues like missed blocks, like mixed slots, or candidates with zero, relay chain blocks with not many candidates backed or zero. This also happened. We know why. Personally, I've investigated the efficiency of the statement distribution protocol because I've been seeing this like relay chain blocks with very few candidates. So I add a new metric that compares the number of backable candidates at the time of block production that you have on your node locally versus what the block producer put in. So you can see like how much your node is performing, if your node is performing actually better than like the others are doing in the network in terms of collecting the statements. So it's a measure of the efficiency of the statement distribution topology. And yeah, but like, this doesn't seem to be affecting, like it's not ideal, it's not perfect, but it doesn't seem to be the problem with block confidence, which seems to be mostly on the collator side, as I said. So in order to get more eyes there, we deployed the Canary parachain on Kusama, which just started to produce blocks, I think yesterday, when it got a core assigned to it. So we use it to kind of measure block confidence and test any kind of improvements. We'll do some monitoring as well, so we know when things degrade much easier, we know why. And I will focus my efforts on the collator side and identifying like what exactly is preventing collators from like build or actually making them rebuild blocks. One thing is forks, we know that, but we do have the new slot-based collator feature, which should be able to solve this by building on older relay parents to avoid these forks. Yeah, so in a nutshell, this is what I've been doing for the past 2 months. Now, do you guys have questions about elastic scaling or block confidence?
Yeah.
Oliver. Yeah, Oliver, go
See,
ahead. And then
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Well, yeah, so just one question. So the elastic scaling, like it's enabled on a relay chain, but it's not yet used by any parachain, right? So currently we only know that it kind of works in its passive mode, or
I mean, there's no passive mode. Like, obviously, people have to get more cores and assign them to a parachain, but in order to use them, they would need to upgrade their node and also the runtime to configure the runtime to use the extra cores. Also use RFC 103 to use them securely. There's a documentation update that I need to make that will kind of bring up to date this part, which has been lagging because some things have been changing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my question was that, like, if we now enable it on Polkadot without having tested it on Kusama with a parachain, like maybe we can test it with one parachain on Kusama first, like, or you think there's no risk to not doing that?
We've tested, I mean, we tested before RFC 103. We tested in the spammer, we did that with 3 cores.
Okay.
But yeah, we didn't actually test RFC 103 in Kusama, but like just like it's a functional thing. We did the other tests with long duration tests on West End, and we know some issues, but those are not critical. We'll for sure add more cores to the parachain on Kusama.
Yeah,
we just like
if you can
spin
get
it up
some,
on. Yeah.
Nice.
It.
When you disable the validator, what will happen? It will chill, or you'll come back next session, or?
Yeah, next session it will not be disabled anymore. But like if it starts disputes again, it will be disabled. It is
When it
particularly
gets disabled,
useful.
can it produce block, or you only get disabled for the backing, or for everything?
I think
Everybody ignoring
for everything, it shouldn't be getting. That's why it shouldn't be getting any points, as far as I know.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Andre, I have a question. For the activation on Polkadot, is there a planned timeline for when the ref comes up?
I said I could do it today. I could put out the referendum today, but I was talking to some other people, and we could bundle up with 1.7.01 to not have multiple things.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'll see it's either it comes separate or it comes with 1.7.0. I think I have to double check. I don't know the exact date, but it should be at the beginning of September.
Yeah, beginning of September. Mm-hmm. I see a question from Dom.
Yes. Do we have a, I don't know if you said this, do we have a target for block confidence? Like, are we trying to go from like 90% to 99, or is it currently 99, but we're trying to hit 99.99, or what's the?
Yeah, this is like we like what we're lacking now is like a parachain where we control all of the collators on both Kusama and Polkadot. So you need actually another one on Polkadot to measure there, but with this one we can actually measure it. We have some other measures, like sometimes it goes to, I don't know, 87 or 85%
Okay.
on some chain on Polkadot, but it's not always like it kind of goes up and down. It depends. And a good target, ideally, there should be only things that are known. For example, we know that we drop back candidates at every session boundary to compute like how much block confidence you lose because of that. But we could also fix it by having collators not build a block when you see there's an upcoming session change. So just like you take a block time hit, but you don't have to rebuild the block. So it's actually better. But yeah, we will come up with some numbers as soon as we have them. Like what's the target and where we stand right now.
Can I think about the block confidence as how many nodes have voted in favor of a block that has not yet been finalized?
I mean, not really. It's more about if a block was built, it doesn't have to be rebuilt, and it's also not going to be dropped. It could be that validators on the backing group could drop it, and that would be bad if they drop it. Then yeah, you could say that they didn't vote on it, but other than that, no.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Andre. I don't see any more questions. Good. Then let's move on. And I think we've got everyone done from rank 3 and rank 2. So we would be on rank 1 now. Anyone not rank 1? Good. Okay. Then let's move on with, I want to start with you, Dom. Dom, welcome to the fellowship call. And I hear you just recently joined the fellowship as a member on rank 1.
Yes, about a month ago.
Awesome. Do you want to give us a little bit of an introduction?
Sure. Yeah. My name's Dom. I'm an engineer by trade, was a game developer for a while. Got into a few different engineering disciplines, and then saw Polkadot about 2 years ago, really got into the vision, and have sort of just been slowly working towards this goal of being in the fellowship since then. So big fan of everybody's work. It makes me proud to be part of a group of such talented engineers, and I hope to do that well as well. So that would be my introduction, I suppose. As far as what I'm working on, it's two things right now. One is the crowdsourcing contributions to decision deposits. So this, I put up an RFC for RFC 151, though looking, a few people have wrote out to me, it looks like Basti had actually started work on this maybe a year ago, I think like predating RFCs. So I don't know if that's actually necessary, and I've since picked up on that work, and that's going well. I imagine that this is going to be coming after the migration, since it's the referenda palette. So it should be a few months there on this one. And then secondarily, the simultaneous voting while delegating. This one I'm a big proponent of, because I think that the ability to not vote while you're delegating has largely stifled our delegation system. And I know, at least, I mean, just me speaking personally, I don't delegate because I can't vote, but I know who I would delegate to, but I'm not doing that. So if anything, I'm just making it for me. But I think this is non-contentious. I believe a lot of people want this. So this is RFC 150. There were a few comments on it. They've been addressed. And so for this one specifically, I'll say, hopefully we can get this voted on soon. So just calling it out now. If this is contentious and you have comments, or you just have comments on the RFC, please take a look, maybe do that in the next week or so. And then maybe I'll try to get somebody to put it up for vote so that I can move forward with the work there more confidently. And that, I assume, will also be coming after the migration. So those are my two things.
All right, thank you, Tom. So you are basically the hero for all the OpenGov enjoyers. That
yeah, that tends to be where my interest lies. I guess I won't speak to it too thoroughly, but I like voting systems. I like governance. I like anything that makes being a citizen of Polkadot a little bit easier and more efficient. Let's say that.
That's really, really good to hear. And I think it's going to be an interesting phase once we have OpenGov rolling out on Hub, because people will be experimenting, and then maybe at some point there is even more need for flexibility or support to integrate it with the smart contracts.
Yeah, I think there's like, it's really ballooning sort of. Luckily though, there's so many good engineers that this stuff I've been looking at, people already seem to be handling, like maybe integrating some sort of zero knowledge, privacy voting, things like that. So people seem to be on it. I think it'll be a quick churn once we get the smart contracts integrated.
All right. Does anyone have a question for Dom? That is not the case. All right. Thank you, Dom. Good. We move on, and I see Sayed on my screen. So rank 1 in the fellowship, Sayed, with a salary of $833.
Not really. I don't get money, but I have potential. So the proof of possession that never finished. So I was hoping to finish it last month, and then I had to change Basti's code. And then I looked more, like I saw I need to change a lot of stuff because he added this owner to the proof of possession. So I looked at the original ticket, that what was he, why did he introduce that, you know? And then I saw he's trying to prevent another type of attack for front runners to stop people from registering new keys. And the reason I was looking at it was another type of attack that was applied to the aggregated signature. So as a result of that, so we need to prevent 2 attacks for BLS and 1 attack for every other key. This result, that proof of possession for every other key is 1 signature, and for BLS is 2 signature. So I went back to the PR to change the thing to this situation. The thing is here, I asked Bastian, he didn't answer me, and I thought if somebody has a thought on this, they can tell me. But the solution to this can be easily every crypto type, ED25519 and 3319, all of them generate 2 signatures to prevent the 2 type of attack. But the second type of attack never apply to any type by BLS because these cannot be aggregated, those other ones. So we are generating this useless signature for everybody else, but for BLS is necessary. So one easy solve to it is to have 2 signatures as a proof of possession for everybody else. The other solution is that everybody else do 1 signature and BLS does 2 signatures. This will add a new type. So now everybody has a pair, public, and signature, and now everybody should have a proof of possession, which will add a lot of macro stuff to it. So I'm torn in this, and I don't know if anybody has any solution to this. I asked Basti, he didn't answer. So I started implementing the code for adding a new type to every crypto type, but maybe somebody think having 2 signatures is not a big deal for everybody, even if the second signature is useless. But yeah, basically I'm working on this PR that make a customized proof of possession for different type. We'll change crypto code significantly, and maybe somebody looks at it and says it's not worth it. But because Basti didn't reply, so I went to the hard way, unless somebody stops me someday.
So you wanted to deploy your code, but then Basti front ran you by submitting a commit that is against front running. All right.
He front ran me 2 years ago. I just didn't look at his reason, and he assumed I know his reason. And then anyways. So yeah, if anybody thinks having 2 signatures is not a big deal to save like 300-400 lines of macros, then maybe I'll go with 2 signatures for everybody. Otherwise, I'll add this code. I wish Basti was here. You would have an opinion. But
yeah, it's becoming a tradition now that in every call someone asks Basti to like sign off a PR or something.
Now I need the coding advice. Yeah.
Good. Do you see any questions for Sayed? All right, that is not the case, then thank you. And next up is Daniel, rank 1 in the fellowship with a salary of $833.
Yeah, hello everyone. So I've been working on the XCM and NFT PR about the XCM and NFT adapters, and it is finally merged after a lot of time. And thank you to every reviewer that been participating in it, because it was a huge effort for everyone, especially for reviewers, because it was a big PR. So now the foundation for the XCM NFT is set. I'm preparing the new PR with the implementation of the new NFT trades for pilot NFTs. We already have these for pilot uniques. Now we will have them for pilot NFTs, and use the same XCM NFT adapters for pilot NFTs as well. And also I'm preparing the NFT derivative support in West End Asset Hub, so it will be in that PR as well. I hope I will open it tomorrow. I hope. Well, this week anyway. But I hope tomorrow. Yes. After that, I don't really know right now. We'll see. Let's see how this PR will go. Well, at least when we will have this PR with the pilot NFTs, with the new NFT trades implemented, and the NFT derivatives in Asset Hub in West End, XCM NFT will be more or less ready to go forward to the not the test networks. So yeah.
All right. What will be the first use case for those for these NFTs? So XCM NFT is about sending them across the network, being able to.
Well, yeah, actually, for the first time, it's about sending the ownership information. You know, you're creating the derivative NFT on the other side, and your NFT can participate in mechanisms on another parachain. So, for example, if one parachain does not provide the needed logic for you, for example, if you cannot fractionalize the NFT on your chain, you can send it over to another parachain and fractionalize it there, or do something else, NFT nesting or some other stuff. So it's about bridging NFTs to get the new functionality and explore the new use cases, because now the NFT use cases are kind of fragmented between the parachains, and we cannot actually take advantage of the interoperability of our ecosystem for NFTs. We can do that for fungibles, of course, but for NFTs it's kind of locked, and the investigation of new use cases it's not limited, it's non-existent. So we need some infrastructure for that. So that's the thing.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Daniel. Does anyone have a question for Daniel? Good. That is not the case. Then we will move on. Thank you, Daniel. All right. Next up is Cisco, rank 1 in the fellowship, with a salary of $833.
Hello.
Hey, Cisco.
So since the last time, I've been focusing on XCM and smart contracts, which I think I mentioned last time. I was working on the precompile. Now I did a workshop for a PBA alumni hackathon, which kind of included a POC of using XCM in smart contracts with a Solidity contract interacting with an Inc contract. So that will be the pattern that we want, or we expect people to use going forward. We will create Inc contracts because they use all the existing Rust crates that we have for XCM. So it's easier to build XCM programs on Inc. And then anyone can, on their Solidity contracts with Hard Hat or Foundry, put the address of this Inc sort of library, and then use it to build transfers or swaps or cross-chain executions. So that was very useful for that. Then there's an issue that actually we realized, but then Daniel.
You just died for me.
I think we lost Cisco. Let's give him a second. I think it's going to be an interesting time when you have smart contracts everywhere, and then you can just like swoosh XCM messages between chains or between just smart contracts on the same chain. But I will not be able to ask Cisco about it now.
Yeah, but it's like also difficult because you then kind of need to keep these versions backwards compatible, and like you don't want to change a contract, like a Solidity contract. You write it once and it's supposed to basically work forever.
Yeah,
that's kind of where the trust assumption comes from, and that means that the chain needs to support this XCM version exactly like it was.
Yeah,
basically forever. So we cannot just deprecate it again like we used to do, like deprecating version 2 or whatever. Yeah, so it does introduce some annoyances. Yeah.
Why, stupid question. Why do you need the same contract? Why can't you deploy a new version?
I mean, that's kind of where the trust comes from. When you have a Solidity contract that nobody can modify, then you can trust it. But otherwise, if someone can just change what the contract does, then why would you trust it? So that's kind of one good thing to like burn the root keys to make people actually believe in your contract. Yeah.
One could make a proxy contract.
I mean,
yes, I also wanted to say that's what
you can use proxy contract, but I don't trust. I mean, me personally, I don't like that. You can just change it anytime. And yeah, sure, it's one pattern to use it, but then you have to trust a party who doesn't just change your contract. Yeah.
I mean, you see a lot of upgradable smart contracts or contracts that use like upgradable proxies or something. So I think in practice, what we see in Ethereum is that there is some amounts of trust you have for smart contracts.
Yeah, but it then also like forces you to upgrade, right? Like if you develop a contract and you just like the developer doesn't maintain it anymore, like it would be nice if it still worked.
Yeah.
So yeah, in Ethereum, like 10-year-old contract still works. I think that's a very compelling story if we could pull this off as well.
But but it's a little bit like a messaging protocol. Either you agree that it's upgradable or not, and then what typically happens if, for example, people have liquidity there, then they are forced to move it. But that's the trade-off you make. If you wanted to have it super immutable, you also need to be willing to migrate your stuff somewhere else. If you want to later on decide you still want to mutate the way you interact with it in a way. But I think once you have XCM, there is a trust assumption, because if you reach another runtime, it might upgrade.
Yeah, I mean the other runtime shouldn't upgrade it. I mean it needs to keep that old XCM version available. Otherwise, it breaks all other contracts, right? Like that's one implication here.
Yes. So sorry, my internet died, but I guess you're talking about versioning. So we decided, like, I thought if a chain, like if we remove older versions, like we did with version 2, then everything would break, and like we would force contracts to be upgradable, as you're talking about, which is possible, but it would be nice to have every contract work forever. So the decision is we will support version 5 onwards and never remove any version unless something critical happens. Because version 5 has already a bunch of fixes versus version 3 and 4. Version 3 and 4 will still be like there. We might eventually remove them, maybe not, but they will not be supported on the XCM precompile. So for smart contracts, you will only be able to use version 5, and we will do our best to not remove any version 4 contracts. If needed, we can try to do some hacks in the precompile to make sure that if you're using like an older version and we see an issue with it, we can like try to keep it backwards compatible. But yeah, that's one of the implications of having smart contracts. which means we need to stop breaking things as well. So all over the place, we need to stop breaking things. Else, everything will be useless. So,
Yeah, I mean, it also applies to like pallets and like how much contracts call into pallets. Like if you just change an extrinsic to do something else or to have different amount of arguments or whatever, then contracts that use it will break. So yeah, there's a lot of implications about doing less breaking changes.
yeah. Also, people will be able to use transact because that's just an XCM thing, but that just means putting bytes and like expecting the other one to not upgrade and change their ABI. But that's fair. Not everyone needs to use transact. And if there's a team, for example, developing between the hub and some other chain like Moonbeam, and they want to do something custom, they can develop the both smart contracts and then call each other via transact. And then they are in control of whether or not they upgrade or the ABI or so on. So yeah. But everyone that uses transact will know that it's risky.
Interesting conversation. All right. Any more? Then, sorry, Cisco.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to mention there's an issue with the transfer assets extrinsic. I don't know if I managed to say before the internet went down. Basically, it tries to figure out what's the reserve for DOT, but the reserve for DOT will change with the asset hub migration. So we simply made it throw an error if you're trying to use it with DOT as a reserve transfer. And there are alternatives. The main alternative is using the Paraspell SDK because it figures this out on its own and it has all the upgrades, all the patches. But then if not, there's the transfer assets using type and then extrinsic, there's execute, and there is the limited reserve transfer assets. So I reached out to the dApps and to the chains and wrote some guides, and I will keep on reaching out to them to fix this. And then we will enable it again post asset hub migration, fixing what's the reserve. And then my promotion to rank 2 is up. And then my first batch of new XCM docs is live on docs.polkadot.com, which is nice because they are like XCM v5. There's also a migration guide from v4 to v5 because we want people to move. And I explain all the differences. And yeah, there will be more coming there. But it's basically how to use XCM from the front end. So using Papi, in the future using Paraspell, and so on. I'm really excited about that. And yeah, we're in the next PBA campus as an instructor, and I've been preparing some content as well for that. Sorry about the internet again.
Very cool. Super busy. All right. I don't see any more questions for Cisco. All right. Then let's move on to the last person in our conversation. We kept the best for the last. Clara, rank 1 in the fellowship with a salary of $833.
Sorry I was late. I had a meeting that ran over. Mine is short and sweet. I've been working on Starbridge V2. The runtime code has been merged. I'm very excited for that. Thank you to Adrian and everyone who reviewed. That will go live in 1.7, if I'm not mistaken. And besides that, I've been working on some off-chain infra for Starbridge V2, like updating the relays, updating the UI. We hope to have SDKs ready by the time that we go live so that teams can start integrating. Starbridge V2 is on West End, but it's not on Paseo yet. I need to add the pilots there. But I'm going to do it this week. And then we're hoping that teams will integrate early and help us like see new use cases with it. And besides that, I also did the asset hub, the asset hub upgrades from XCM v4 to v5. That's also going to go live in 1.7, if I'm not mistaken. That's it.
Great. Does anyone have a question for Clara? That is not the case so far. Clara, what's up next after V2 is out?
So once V2 is out, we're gonna start with our roadmap if our proposal passes, which it looks like it might, hold comes. But after that, it's looking at supporting Ethereum L2s, which is a major thing for us, and I think for the community as well. And then just chugging through the things on our roadmap, work on our docs, work on supporting teams to integrate and upgrade to Snowbridge V2. Snowbridge V2 is backwards compatible, so Snowbridge V1 will still work, but we're hoping that the new capabilities with sending arbitrary contract calls in both directions will unlock new use cases for teams.
Awesome, very good. Good. That covers all. I don't see questions for Clara. Good. So then we can conclude for the day. Let me try to give everyone a little bit of a summary. So Hub migration is progressing really well. We are looking into having a lot of tests, and then the Paseo migration coming up really soon. We see lots of good stuff here. 1.7 and 1.8 were the big topics today. So how the migration is happening exactly. So we have the version numbers here. Elastic scaling is done and it's live on Kusama. So that means, does it mean that Kusama 2.0 is live? And yeah, more timelines. And then all the good work on the details here. Good. All right. So with that, I think we can get ready to round it up. We had some news this week, and that is that last week, that is that Gavin Wood is back as the CEO of Parity. And yeah, I was wondering a little bit how this changes, if this changes the fellowship in any way, if there's like more overlap now between the agenda. Any thoughts on that? Or just general opinions? Me always with my open questions, right? All right. I guess we will ask Gavin what he thinks about being the new CEO of Parity next time. And until then, thank you everyone for coming here today, sharing the work that you're doing, also for doing the work, because it needs people like you that do the work. And it's always exciting to see how we're progressing. And there has been so much progress. And I feel like right now everything is coming together. We see Hub coming. We see Polkadot 2.0 coming. And then even Birdo did some work. I hear that the Polkadot Pay is also getting ready. All right. So thank you everyone for coming today. We see each other next month. Until then, have a good one and goodbye.
Thank you.